looking for a story. My partner had a contact. He'd gained his trust and found out the whereabouts of a radicalized eco-warrior. Jim wanted to take him down. The man responsible for the deaths of 6,000 Nestle employees. Kane. Jim asserted his dominance immediately. We followed Kane past the earth-killing cloud factories. We know he was planning to blow up a dam. We just didn't know where yet. It was obviously going to be somewhere remote. At some point, we'd overtaken him, but he began driving aggressively, ramming the back of the van with his car.
We're being hunted down by an
There he is. There's that eco-terrorist. He will stop at nothing.
He signaled us to pull over, then told us he has something to show us. In our brief conversations hanging from the window of a van, he told us that he only wants destruction for industry. Destruction for those who want to profit over the well-being of humankind. But all of the places that he seemed to bring us to, they shared one characteristic. They all seemed to be draped in, simply covered, dedicated to death. He was simply obsessed with it.
Kane is a radicalized eco-terrorist. He is wanted in 5 countries for terrorist actions against dams. He is terribly appalled with the killing of the indigenous population of these areas, and he will stop at nothing to end the terror that is brought about by companies in the march towards profit. He's a good man, but some call him an eco-fascist.
Kane proceeded to mark the location where the lasers will ignite the explosives once laid. Something was bothering me. Jim was becoming far too friendly with this eco-warrior. I think his terroristic nature excited the bully inside him, the nasty bully that I knew that he was. I convinced them that I needed just a little walk to get some air.
Now that I've got a moment alone, say how I really feel about Jim. I feel like he's a negative influence on me. I feel like he's a bully. He hits me when he thinks no one else is looking, then makes me look mad to everyone else. He is conniving and manipulative. He tries to dictate my every action. He tries to make me do things that I don't want to do and I'm not comfortable doing. I've spoke to a counsellor about it, and they've told me to try and perhaps approach him, but he makes fun of me for it and calls me a wimp. He's now watching with a drone. There he is. There he is watching all the time. See, he has to be somewhere behind me watching, making sure that I'm not talking to someone else. He gets very, very jealous. I best go, he's probably listening to what I'm saying.
Luckily, the eco-terrorist found our access to a drone beneficial to his operation. He also seemed to like the idea of his actions being caught on camera. He wanted the word out. So he proceeded to take us to where the explosives were to be laid. He drove us all the way to an old bridge.
The path always looks better from the other side. You go.
Man versus environment. Only one can come out the victor.
Kane would shout this everywhere that we went. His statement was always followed up by the retort that the environment would always be the victor. The eco-fascist led us down very strange tunnels. At times, me and Jim thought that he might be leading us to our own death. And despite Jim being a tough bully, I began to notice that he'd started to get scared of the eco-warrior. He knew that he was dangerous.
Shaking your head, Jimmy. Aww.
As with the other location that Kane had brought us to, this location was also draped in death. Whilst Jim and Kane set up the gear, I took it upon myself to ring Nestle to see if I could find out a little bit more about his story.
Good evening, Nestle. Can I help you?
Hi, I'm phoning on behalf of Saturn Corp, and we would like to ask about an incident that happened 3 months ago. Are you available to comment?
I have no idea what you're on about, sir.
They were uncooperative. Jim helped Kane drag the explosives down to the edge of the water, where they were dispersed and scattered, to be collected later by well-trained fish and placed in front of the dam to be ignited by the lasers. Kane told us that this act of destruction would free the locals from Nestle's water tyranny. But the operation was interrupted by someone else far more dangerous, an international fruit smuggler. They called him Adam the Fruit Man. It's possible that he has connections with Nestle, connections which would make us his enemy. He began brazenly smuggling fruit as an act of power.
Fucking fruit smuggler. What he does is he gets it out of the van and then he puts it onto a tiny little remote control boat which he's just about to level into the water, and then he drives the fruit across this stretch of expanse and then sells it off to M&S.
He'd sent in his organic surveillance drone. We'd started to get nervous. We felt if we wanted to escape with our lives, we'd best make a hasty exit. But the path that we came in on had become flooded. The fruit man was most likely the culprit. Strange cars had also started following us.
Car has been following us for too long. I feel like it might be one of the fruit man's.
The eco-warrior led us back to his hideout as a precaution. It was well hidden, the perfect place for a man wanted worldwide. We began setting up camp. It was a beautiful place. It almost helped us forget about the scary things we had been doing this very day. Jim's strange relationship continued to blossom with the criminal that we'd come to investigate. I feel like this terrorist will influence Jim. It will amplify his already violent nature, his sadistic, chaotic urge for destruction. He craves fire.
This is the artistry. You're capturing me, capturing the fire.
Despite my doubts about this freedom fighter, I certainly can't find fault in his motivations. Nestle are certainly an evil, evil corporation. But the killing of innocents? He killed even the Lowellys. He marched through that headquarters with love in his heart, but violence on his mind. As he did, he shouted at the top of his lungs, "If you work for the enemy, then you are the enemy." To try and distract everyone from focusing too much on ecological issues, to try and avoid arguments, I made some dinner. Someone had found us. Most likely tracked us by the smell of our food. The fruit man had arrived. The intrusion made Jim behave in a very peculiar fashion. Wearing of the mask traditionally preceded physical abuse. Whilst I mentally prepared for the beating that I was sure to receive, the fruit man relayed to us his plan. He told us that he was a former employee of Nestle. Doubt that his illegal operation of trading fruit was funded by Nestle. He vowed to stop. He did not want to trade in illegal items if they were funded and backed by such a grubby company. I had my doubts that he was telling us the whole truth. Jim finally snapped.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do
After
any
the
of this
unprovoked
anymore.
attack, Jim marched around threatening to throw my sleeping bag into a fire if I did not come and give him a massage. During the altercation, the fruit man had snuck off.
Back from buying fruit. Hey?
Oh, you alright, Ethan?
Made a good deal, did you?
What? I was talking to my wife.
It seems that the fruit man had not been entirely truthful about his quitting of the fruit trade.
You looking a mess, Sparky?
We woke up to find Kane gone. Adamant to still have a story, Jim started to broker a deal with our new target.
As far as I'm aware, this is some sort of deal for rare and exotic fruit. There he is, the fruit man, with the money that he's got from fruit.
It seems that Jim had been wilier than I had thought. He had seen through the fruit man's lies, and he had offered him a sum to show us where he stores the fruit. The lie that he had weaved concerning the quitting of the fruit trade was a ruse. It was designed to misdirect us, to distract us from the fact that he planned to become the successor to Nestle. I'd started to come to the conclusion that maybe Adam had killed Kane to get rid of potential problems early. We'd arrived. Adam told us that we could only document this if we did not document the journey, only the destination.
He's an eco-fascist.
Whilst Jim distracted Adam, I filmed from a distance.
It's absolutely vital we remain hidden and unobserved. We are dealing with some incredibly dangerous men. There he is. The most prolific importer of illegal and rare fruits in the world.
We were there. We'd arrived at one of his caches of fruit, a small cave in the side of a hill.
This is where I keep my secret stash.
I decided to explore it, to investigate his claims.
Well, I'll have to go down for them.
Jim became anxious. He started to think that perhaps we'd stumbled into a trap.
What?
There's no fruit down here. There's no fruit down here at all. There's just rocks. Rocks of darkness. I'm getting out of here. Getting out of here before the fruit man traps me down here.
You find out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright.
Hi.
Hey, I didn't find any fruit.
It's after the cave in.
Oh, okay.
Grabbed a couple of things that I pre-packaged up.
Oh, bananas.
He claimed that the cave did not have any fruit inside due to a previous cave-in. But what I think is that he planned for the cave to cave in whilst I was inside of it. It would be one less thorn in his side. The conclusion I jumped to ended up saving my life. After we'd got far enough away from his failed trap, Adam, the fruit man, became violent. I scrambled to get away. But this seasoned criminal pursued me relentlessly. As I'd peaked my escape cliff, the maniac appeared out of nowhere.
Get back here with my jackfruit!
By sheer luck, he fell to his death, leaving behind only memories.
We came to the reservoir. It was fucking shit.
With one of our stories dead and the other one missing in action,
Hello.
we attempted to traffic sheep.
Nice looking bit of grass. You having a good day? Don't mind if I have to say I do.
They were faster than we had anticipated, and the sheep dance failed to entice them.
Come back, lammy lambs! I love you!
With our last chance venture coming up unfruitful, we decided to go home. Decided it best to get the fuck out of Wales.